Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. Okay, today we are going to learn chapter 10, growth. Here are subtopics for growth. The first one we look for measurement of growth, and then next we look for the types of growth curve, and next growth pattern. Okay, for the learning outcome at the end of the lessons, so you should be able to define growth and explain how growth is measured. Okay, what is growth? So growth is permanent and irreversible increase in biomass, length, and width over a specific time through cell division, cell differentiation, and cell enlargement. So here we have plant growth and human growth. Growth can be measured using many different parameters. So parameters here such as length, height, mass, surface area or volume over a period of time. So here we have height of plant and surface area of leaf. The most suitable parameters to measure the growth are by measuring the changes of individuals, wet mass and dry mass. So what is wet mass and what is dry mass? Wet mass or fresh mass is the overall mass of an organism in a specific environment, and the mass is obtained with its water content. So here the advantages: the organism do not need to be destroyed and the same individuals can be used for repeated measurement. Disadvantages for wet mass: water content can increase or decrease regularly depends on the organism's water intake. So this can result in inaccurate measurement. Okay, next we look for dry mass. So dry mass is the mass obtained after all its water content has been eliminated through drying, okay, without burning the carbohydrate. So it gives more accurate estimate about growth compared to wet mass. Even though dry mass gives more accurate measurement, but the organism has to be destroyed or killed during drying. Other than that, many individuals from a population which have similar age and size are required. So sample size must be large. Okay, here there are 4 disadvantages for dry mass. Types of growth. Explain absolute growth curve. So here we have 4 phases. The first one, Lect phase. Next, log phase. Okay, the third, decelerating or linear phase. And last one, plateau phase or stationary phase. Okay, here we have 2 types of growth curve. The first one, absolute growth curve, and the next we have absolute growth rate curve. For absolute growth curve, growth parameter, example height, length, and mass against time, and then it shows sigmoid shape curve. For the absolute growth rate curve, parameter increment against time, so it shows bell shape curve. Absolute growth curve is the growth of the whole organism throughout the growth period, and it is obtained by plotting the growth parameter against time, so it gives the typical sigmoid growth curve. Absolute growth curve, okay, we have 4 phases: Lect phase, log phase, decelerating phase, and stationary phase. So for the Lect phase, very little growth occur here because there are a very few cells initially, and growth occurs slowly because cell division and cell enlargement occur at a slow rate. Here organism is young, unmatured, and start adapted in a new environment. For exponential phase or log phase. So growth here is very rapid growth, exponential growth. Organism is well adapted to the environment because the condition is optimum. Okay, the factors such as sufficient of food, availability of space, sufficient of oxygen. For decelerating phase, growth here decrease and become limited. Okay, growth become limited by internal factors such as not sufficient of food, limited space, less oxygen, accumulation of waste product. And stationary phase, relatively constant growth here, a period where overall growth has ceased or stopped. Organism is fully developed, okay, achieve maturity, so rate of cell division is equals to rate of cell death. Example for absolute growth curve is the population growth of paramecium species. Absolute growth rate curve, okay, is the increase in the size mass over time. So final growth minus initial growth. So we have the increment. It is useful for showing the overall pattern of growth. Okay, next we look for growth patterns. Define growth pattern. Here we have various patterns of growth occur among organisms. Okay, for growth pattern, first one we look for limited growth, next unlimited growth, and then also we have isometric growth, allometric growth, and last one intermittent growth. Limited growth is definite or determinate growth. The growth does not continue throughout life. Example here we have annual plants, so it will grow and reproduce for a year, one vegetative season. So we have maize, rice, pea, and then here the growth pattern for limited growth. Okay, here the growth patterns for limited growth curves. Example we have Pisum sativum, pea plant. Okay, initial stage of germination, slight decrease in dry mass. So here dry mass against time. And then next, after a week of germination, a large increase in dry mass because plants to start photosynthesis. And before death, okay, decrease in mass or weight due to dispersal of seed. Here initial decrease in weight due to respiration of stored food in the seed. For unlimited growth is indefinite or indeterminate growth. So organism growth continues throughout their life until death. Example, perennial plants or woody plants. So it will grow and reproduce for many years. Okay, it shows a series of sigmoid curves, and each sigmoid, okay, each sigmoid curve represents 1 year's growth or one vegetative season. For isometric growth, the organs, okay, the organs grow at the same rate as rest of body parts. The change in size of organism is not accompanied the change in shape. Means that an organism increase in size, okay, without changing its shape. Example here we have fish. Organs grow at different rates from rest of body for allometric growth. The change in size of organism accompanied by the change in shape. Example, human mammals. Okay, this growth pattern can be observed in the growth of human organs. Okay, in embryos, Q, in embryos, the brain and head grow and develop rapidly in early phase. Okay, early phase. For P, lymphoid tissues. Okay, lymphoid tissue grows rapidly in early childhood because it is needed to boost natural immunity to defend against disease. For reproductive organ, blue color are for reproductive organ grows slower, okay, than the whole organism during infancy, okay, slow, and then next faster during puberty. For intermittent growth, okay, limited growth or growth until certain size. Okay, it shows step-like pattern because it have an inelastic hard exoskeleton. Exoskeleton must be shaped via a process called molting or a diasis before growth can occur. Stage between two ecdysis, okay, stage between two ecdysis here we call install. Occurs in arthropods. Example, we have grasshopper, cockroach, and crustacean.